Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for March 24th, 2017. Happy Friday. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka Pivot Boss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. After the previous session here, we've basically rejected off of the 2354s. This is something we talked about in the pre-market report yesterday. I mentioned if price rallies in the 2354, this is a spot that bears are going to want to control for a shot at looking at dropping this thing even lower. And again, we have not seen this type of bear setup in a while, where we've had a major rejection up here and a pullback, and then we've had a significant lower high and a pullback, and now we're seeing a defense of a break through the bottom of a key range here and those lower support levels, which implies more weakness and another leg. So this is quite different than what we've seen here over the last several months, but it's the market we have right now, and the key levels are still very, very important pivots. So we know who's positioned where. 2354, bears are positioned here, and today bears are defending right off this edge at 2350 for a shot at a multi-day push downward toward 2307. So that's the next approach here. Is if bears continue to keep this thing below 2354, we could see a continuation into the LVN down below the 100% expansion target at 2307. Now, once that happens, it would be an opportunity to defend and return back toward 2360, 2365. The flip side of that here is 2354. That's the pivot. So as soon as price starts to see acceptance above this level, any bears here that got short and didn't get paid will start to get their buy stops run. So that's the tap out point right there. Still the pivot to watch, 2354. Let's take a look at the intraday chart. All right, here we go. Here's the intraday chart, and so far this thing has been trading within a range overall. And you can see right here, here's the 2354s. Price had a very tightly coiled morning yesterday, and then boom, a big upside push. Got into 56 high, attempted to hold. It took a while. This right here took a couple of hours, and eventually we started to see price roll down. And we knew exactly where to look. 54.75 to 54 was a zone that our trading room was looking to reject, and several traders positioned themselves off this zone here. And the idea was 54s is not only an entry that a scalper or a day trader can trade, but that's also a potential swing level as well. Something you can hold to the end of the day and perhaps continue to hold if this thing plays out. So again, this is where a lot of bears are positioned, so that tells you above here the buy stops start to get run. So right now, key levels to watch today still remains that level with a shot at seeing lower lows here. We'll see. Now let's take a look at CL. Here's CL. Let's bring up the daily chart here, and on a daily time frame, you'll notice that the previous session, what I was talking about was this rejection tail here, and it occurring off our 4709s. We saw the rejection happen during our TH, which was refreshing for a change, not having it happen overnight or after hours. And we saw a nice aggressive reversal, and I mentioned right here this midpoint, which is 47.67, is the level for bulls to defend. But after rejecting this previous high here and coming into the level, our trading room was very cautious with that level, but it still paid on many, many rotations, and it continues to hold. So this is a zone that continues to hold, and ideally you would see 47.60 hold for a shot at squeezing this back toward the recent high here, which would put you at about 49.70. And a shot, of course, to continue higher. So that's the idea. But as soon as 47.60 gives way, you're going to have a couple of days worth of bulls trying to defend in the face of lower highs. That could easily get the stops run. So 47.60 is the key pivot. And right now, bulls are keeping it bid. So if we look at the intraday time frame here, you can see here's that rejection low at 47.01. Absorption signature here. We rally and hit the 48.42 from below. That's a 1.5 point rally from that low. Very nice move. And then since the pullback has occurred, here's the 47.67 is right here. And that happens to be right where price closed the session yesterday. So you could see bulls came back, defend, and it got very, very chunky in this area. So there's a lot of energy built up. We have a current flow up. So right now, that swing idea that we've been working on continues to remain by a thread here off of this 47.67 and could continue this thing back higher toward 49s and higher. So right now, looking to see how this plays out, a rounded bottom, cup and handle type of thing. We could see this thing float higher. But again, 47.60, the key pivot. Below there runs the stops. Let's take a look at the NQ. Here's the NQ. This is with the pivots. And something important on this one was we had that significant sell-off, obviously. And I mentioned that retesting 53.95 to 54 from below would be a clear way sell zone for bears looking to defend for a shot at running this thing downward. And so far we hadn't quite gotten there. We've seen bears defend just ahead of that in the 53.80s, so it hasn't gotten into the 53.90s quite yet. And now what we're seeing is heading into RTH, we have an inside day holding above a midpoint and below a midpoint. So there's quite a bit here of stops on either side. Above 53.80 could spark a big stop run day into 54s and beyond. And then likewise, if this thing fails to hold the 53.45s right here, this thing heads lower. So right now we have a little bit of a range to watch, and if you translate that down to the intraday time frame, you'll notice the same as well. We have a nice little time trading range here that's built out. You can see this is the recent lows, 53.15. Since then, higher low here. Since then, we've seen absorption come in off of this edge, and again, that's that 53.45. But on the top end, you're seeing the same thing. This looks like an inverted head and shoulder type of thing. But again, it's this price range that's very important here. So 53.15 is where bulls are currently fading short term for a shot at swing highs. And then, of course, on the upper end of the range is 53.75 to 78. And that zone right there is for bears to defend. Bears shot at running the stops through these lows and pushing this thing for swing lows. So right now we have some energy building in this range. We'll see which way that energy gets released. Lastly, let's take a look at gold. Here's a look at gold. Let's bring up the, here's the PivotBoss pivots there. All right, daily time frame. One thing with gold was we were looking for this thing to remain bullish. We had the failed new low here, and the uptrend led to much more strength right into our 48 to 50 zone. Now that we're here, I mentioned that any pullback into 1240 or even as low as 1235 could be a buying opportunity for a continuation into 1263. So right now, that's our next primary objective on a swing basis. And price came very, very close to 1240 already overnight pre-market and is now kind of bouncing off that zone. But this could continue to be the case here, where any pullback into 40 or as low as 35 or into 35 could still be a great buying opportunity for a push into 63s. So that'd be something to look for right there. Now on an intraday time frame, looking at this here, to go based off of the higher time frame ideal, here's the 1240s, and you can see a couple of LVNs here, and that's the 35 halves where the initial stops came out. And you know, overall we've kind of switched a little bit to kind of a downtrending mode after this big push up, but still this LVN is very, very solid. So bulls are going to continue to defend that, and as long as the price holds above this LVN, the opportunity to go into 1263 improves, in my opinion. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this thing plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and happy Friday.